Robin Jacobson. I'm the chair of the Library Committee, and I'm very honored to welcome you to the Daniel Mann Literary Luminary event. This is co-sponsored by Men's Club, Sisterhood, and the Library Committee. For library committees and many others, this is a very poignant occasion. For a number of years, Danny Mann stood here, exactly where I'm standing now, to introduce the Literary Luminary event. He was the one who first imagined and then brought to life this program and brought speakers every year. He died suddenly and unexpectedly this past spring, but since he was always a planner, he had already set in motion today's event. He had already invited Rabbi Portnoy to speak, and so in a way, today's program is a parting gift from Danny to us. In Danny's memory, the Library Committee renamed this event the Daniel Mann Literary Luminary event. You might ask, why is it the Daniel Mann Literary Luminary event instead of the Danny Mann event when everybody called him Danny? And the reason is that Danny was very particular that he was to be called Danny only in conversation. If there was anything in writing, an article, a letter, he was extremely firm that he was to be referred to as Daniel. So, of course, we honored that, and we appreciated that he had been so clear about it, so that there was no debate. For a description of Danny's remarkable and accomplished life, I invite you to take a copy of his obituary. There are copies on the back table. Danny always announced the date of the next Literary Luminary event, so I'm going to do that too. It will take place on Sunday, January 31st, 2016. 2016 is always the last Sunday in January. Please see me if you have ideas for next year or connections to people who illuminate the Jewish literary life in Washington, D.C. We really owe it to Danny to keep this going, and we want to keep it going. In the shorter term, the next co-sponsored Men's Club, Sisterhood, and Library Committee event is the book chat on February 15th, February 15th at 10 a.m., a change from the usual time because it's President's Weekend. A Woman in Jerusalem by A.B. Yehoshua. So think about that and come to it, and you're all very, very welcome. But now, I'm very proud to introduce the seventh literary luminary speaker, Rabbi Portnoy. Many of you already know Rabbi Portnoy because we're fortunate to have her as our adjunct rabbi here. But since she is modest about her accomplishments, I will mention just a few of them. From her early days, Rabbi Portnoy was a trailblazer. She was in the first class of women to graduate from Yale University, and among the first women to become a rabbi. She holds a master's in Hebrew literature and did additional graduate work at Dropsy and Catholic universities. She was the director of Hillel at American University and then moved to Temple Sinai. I know some of the Temple Sinai folks are here, where she served with distinction for 25 years and continues to be a rabbi emerita there. She has taught at both American University and Trinity College, not to mention the Skolnick Institute, where I had the great pleasure of taking a literature course with her this past fall. She's the author of 5 children's books, starting with the groundbreaking Ima on the Bima, and continuing with books that very sensitively yet positively talked about difficult topics like where do people go when they die, and A Tale of Two Satyrs, which is about divorce. A special favorite is Matzah Ball, a baseball Passover story. For insight into the importance of baseball to Rabbi Portnoy, you should know that in 2001, she threw the first pitch at an Orioles game in honor of her 20 years in the rabbinate. Rabbi Portnoy's essays and sermons have been widely published, and she will talk to us today about literature and writing in the life of a rabbi. Her topic is Behind the Bima, the Inner Literary Life of a Rabbi. When Rabbi Portnoy finishes speaking, there'll be time for questions, And then you'll have the opportunity to purchase and have her sign some of her books. She's generously making the books available to us for the very reasonable price of $5 for paperback books and $10 for hardcover books. So I hope you'll take advantage of this nice opportunity. And now we can welcome Rabbi Portnoy.
Thank you, Robin, and Robin was a great student in my class. Everybody was. Success for every student. I do want to say just I want to say a word about Danny Mann, because I think I was Danny Mann's last teacher, which is a great honor for me. I knew him many years ago from Hillel, and I knew his wife, Elaine, may she rest in peace. I knew her from the Jewish community, both very prominent leaders in the Jewish community. And Danny, last year, had taken my class on medieval Jewish history, and I have to tell you, he was the most copious note taker in the whole class. And Danny would sit in the front row and would write down every detail. And if he weren't there a particular week, he would get the notes from someone else. And this was only really a few months before he died. And I particularly remember when Elaine died, because Elaine, his wife, passed away shortly before he did. I got an email from Danny which said, "I'm sorry, Rabbi, I won't be in class this week because my wife passed away and I won't be able to be there, but I will be back." And I thought to myself, I mean, I did know already that Elaine had died, but there was such a responsible person. I mean, he cared so much about studying in class, even in the midst of his great grief and sorrow. And so I really, I didn't know Danny as well as probably some of you did, but it meant a lot to me that he was in this class, and I had been his last teacher because he knew so much, and it was an honor for me to have him as a student. On a lighter note, you mentioned the most important thing in my biography, which is, of course, throwing out the pitch at Camden Yard. May 6th, 2001, just in case you wanted to know. And the Yankees beat the Orioles that day. We don't want to go on, because I could talk about this the whole time. But I do want to say that just a few days ago, my husband and I finalized plans. For the first time ever, I'm actually going to spring training of the Orioles this year, so I'm very excited. This is a highlight of my life. Now to the